Hello friends, and welcome to the video. Yes, I'm sick. So all the videos this week I'm going to have this voice. So somebody was asking me in the comments about the law of attraction. Now, I'm not into the law of attraction or manifestation, although sometimes it seems like it's true, doesn't it? And maybe it is true, I have no idea. But, I mean, for example, well, firstly, if it was true, I'd be very worried because some of the things I wanted when I was younger, I realise now were a bit silly. And I'm pretty happy that they didn't come true. Things have worked out well. Things seem to work out the way you want. But I'll give you an example of something that really seems like I made it happen. So when I was a kid in the 80s, we used to have on TV the 1960s Batman series. So this thing with I don't know if you've seen it. All these fights, and it says "pow" and "bam" and Batman lives in he lives in Wayne Mansion. I'm not an expert, but and he goes down into the Batcave through a special bookshelf. And then from the Batcave, the Batmobile drives out through this exit where it's got all these things hanging down somewhere really far away. And so you can't tell that it's coming out of Wayne Mansion. And I really wanted that. So I was going to try to dig in my back garden a tunnel into my house. And I drew little pictures of it and everything. And I don't remember why I didn't do it, probably because I was maybe 6 or 7 and didn't have the ability to dig a tunnel, and maybe my parents didn't let me. But years later, when I was living in Salamanca before I came to Madrid, I actually ended up living in a house that you went down into the basement from the house, and it was a whole row of houses that were all the same. And the tunnel coming out of the garage, as the garage was in the basement, it came out at the end of the road. Completely, you wouldn't know it was my house, and it came out in the opposite direction as well. And it was just like the Batcave. I'd drive out and no one had known I'd left. I'd drive in and no one knew I'd arrived, that kind of thing. And I remembered that and thought, look, I've manifested it. Also, when I was younger, I remember when the National Lottery came out in Britain. I don't know, the people from the United Kingdom might remember that in the 90s. And I remember trying to make it happen, trying to will it to happen. And I think there's lots of things that are negative. Well, for one thing, you get your hopes up, and then for silly things, and then you're disappointed, or you don't actually make a proper effort to achieve things because you think that if you just imagine it, it'll come true rather than planning properly. Anyway, but so these videos about Advaita Vedanta, so I'll give this angle. Now, what you want as the separate self, what this law of attraction is doing is it's saying that basically you can control the universe with your thoughts. Now, I would be scared because some of my thoughts are negative, and I would, if I believed in it, I would be terrified every time I thought something negative. And I know they probably have ways around it to say how that doesn't actually happen, but the whole point of this path we're on is dissolving the misidentification with a separate self. So we have this exploration in the direct path that we're doing, dissolving this, realizing that we're not this isolated, vulnerable person who is in danger and needs things and wants things, and when that, as it slowly dissolves, you become acting more from the whole, thinking more from the whole, from totality, as Jean Klein says. And if you really think that that separate self, which is illusory anyway, can control the world, you're actually making it stronger. It's completely the opposite of what we're trying to do here. So we're trying to realize that this thing that we think of is the self, that, the ego, the I maker constructs, is not really there. That this vulnerability, this separation, this thing that wants a bat cave is not the thing that you have to protect or make happy. Yes, the body will protect itself. The body has, it's got functions and parts of the mind that protect itself, and that's good. And so that's why I'm also not into completely destroying the ego and not realizing who you are. You just transcend it and you say, yes, I see that this is what I'm wanting, or what this thing wants, but it's not really I'm bigger than that. I'm something that doesn't come and go, and something that's never not been and will never not be. So trying to make things fit into the desires, the limited desires of basically a monkey brain, something that's evolved within the world, is just really bad. And this is why we have things like people never being satisfied with how much they get. Another angle I think is nice to look at is from the idea that what is satisfaction? What is this joy we get when we want something? It's you get something and then you're happy. Now, Advaita teachers, and John Klein in particular is my favorite at the moment, they talk about you want something and it creates a feeling of lack and this desire. And this is mirrored in neuroscience with dopamine, this dopamine that, people who take, methamphetamine or cocaine, it creates this feeling of lack, feeling that they want something, they want to do something, want to achieve something, but it's never satisfying. It's not the other neurotransmitter, I can't remember what it is, that actually gives you a feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment. So this desire, what happens is when you want something, when you get it, it's not that you do get it and it transmits happiness to you because you've got it. And we all see this because you get something and then you get buyer's remorse or whatever. You realize it wasn't as important as you thought as soon as you click buy on Amazon. You think, or you get it through the post and you think, well, did I really need it? But what happens is you get it and then that need goes. And that, when that goes, your natural state of peace and quiet joy arises. And that relief is what is good. That relief is what we misidentify as being the satisfaction from getting something. So John Klein said, and I've said this before, that when you get enlightenment, when you realize that you're not this separate self, it's like putting down the luggage, that you've been on a long journey and you finally put down the luggage and let go, and you get this relief. And this relief is your natural state. It's not something that you'll get and then you'll need something else. As happens in the world, we're never satisfied. The richest person in the world is always wanting to find ways of getting more money. You never hear about somebody who's, I'm happy now, I've got enough money, unless they get a change of their point of view, unless they realize, have this understanding that, well, I've got all this and it's never made me happy. So really, that's not what makes me happy. It's not needing stuff that makes you happy. This also ties into Buddhism and how, attraction and aversion is what feeds this wheel of suffering. Before my mum died, I was fortunate enough to have been listening to a lot of, it wasn't just before then, but it was the few years before, listening to Michael Singer. And he puts it really well. I don't really know what background he has, but he talks about how you, say for example, you go for a walk in the forest and you see a beautiful butterfly, and you, from then on, you're always looking to see a butterfly. You also see a snake and you're scared. And from then on, you're always worried about seeing snakes. So throughout your life, you just don't see butterflies every day, but you're always looking to see a butterfly. You don't see snakes every day, but you're always trying to stop yourself and get away from the chance of seeing snakes. And what we have to do is we have to learn not really to accept in a fatalistic way, but we need to realize that when we're trying to push something away or pull something closer, this is what's making us unhappy. And if we can't even enjoy the thing we've got when we get it because we're afraid of losing it. So Michael Singer says that how do you learn this? What you've got to do is you've got to get low-hanging fruit. So go for the easy things. So his example is you're driving in traffic and you get annoyed for some reason or other. Now, if you learn to accept that and not make it into a big deal, then you kind of get that level and you kind of level up. And the next level would be something more challenging. And then you learn to deal with that level, and then you learn to deal with another level. And he said that once, I think in the 70s, something very bad happened to him. I don't know what it was, but he was more worried about not learning from it than actually the bad thing that happened. And so when my mum died, what can you do? You hate the world, you hate God, you think life's unfair for this, if we lose everybody we love, or you let it in and you let it pass and you just go to a new level of understanding and acceptance that helps you rather than turns you into somebody who's a neurotic chaser and person who runs away. And I haven't got it. It's not like I don't want things to happen to me. Every time I find a lump or something like that, or a big mole, I get paranoid. But he says that it's like a river. So you have a river, and in the river there are all these rocks, and the water's really it's white water. It's all like rapids. It's all bubbly and tormented, and that's what we're like, because there's all this restriction, these blocks that we're trying to stop what's actually happening. But further up the river, where there are no rocks, it's just all flowing smoothly. So what we've got to do is just start with low-hanging fruit, learn to accept, take the rocks out of the river so that we flow. And then when we flow, we're not using all this energy in trying to fight what's happening. That said, yes, intention is good. Do what you have to do. Do your best right now, what the situation calls for. But as Krishna said, don't get tied to the results. A lot of this Advaita Vedanta, going back to Advaita Vedanta, is about being not being the doer, realizing that you're not the doer. You are the observer of what's happening. And this can be a big teaching for dissolving the idea of the separate self. People like Ramesh Balsekar base it around that. But thinking that you are the doer and that you can change the world, maybe because that's maybe what's attracted you to idealism or spirituality. You think you can change the world with your thoughts. It's just going to make you tormented. There are two types of religion. So when people pray to God, it's always like, I want this, I want this, I want this. This is transactional religion. This is like a base religion. You know, if I pray to God, if he doesn't give me what I want, I'll find a different God. This is a simple form of religion. The higher form of religion is understanding that you are God. You are this fundamental, ultimate reality that is untouched, but is not harmed by what's going on. You're the screen that the movie's projected on. And when there's a fire in the movie, it doesn't burn the screen. And this is the realization that we get through this path of Advaita Vedanta, non-duality Buddhism, and a lot of these spiritual religions. Eventually, you know, the dualistic religions as well. Islam means submission. And it's not this, we don't like these words in modern society, but modern society is turning us into very unhappy people. So that's what I think about the law of attraction. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you can get a Batcave. But sometimes it just makes you unhappy. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.